Hey, I always totally forget to say this, but if you watch my video, please let me know in the comments what you thought about the episodes that I'm discussing and about the points that I'm making. I'm super curious to know your thoughts and your theories and your opinions on what I'm talking about in all of my videos. Now, on with the video. Let's talk about Lucifer, Season 5, Episodes 1 and 2. Spoilers. Now, Lucifer is one of those shows that I really enjoy while being aware that it's not necessarily always good. I think the premise is really cool. I like the actors. I love Tom Ellis. I could watch him forever. He's just really cute. But I think they had kind of material for one season, and then they were like, oh, okay, so we're not cancelled. Now what do we do? So they're not always sure what to do with their characters, which means that we get some good storylines and some good episodes and some good writing every once in a while. And sometimes we get some really bad writing and some like really weird ideas that don't necessarily work. This is what we're getting in the first episode of this season. It's honestly really atrocious. Like, it's really bad. I get what they're going for. It does get better. The second episode I quite liked. It's just that episode 1 of season 5 is quite honestly terrible. But the thing is, with this show, because it doesn't take itself that seriously, because it's not trying to be this big dramatic, like, you know, aiming for all the awards type of show, it's a lot easier to forgive it when sometimes it kind of doesn't do that well with an episode. I think that one of my issues that I've always had with the series, not just now in season 5, but it's just becoming more and more prominent kind of as the seasons progress, it's Lucifer and Chloe. They've always been an issue for me. I just don't care about this love story, which is really sad because the show kind of mostly revolves around the love story and I can't get invested in it. I think it's partially because of the casting. It's really interesting. I think that separately, all of the characters on the show are I said that really weirdly. All the characters on the show are cast well, but they just kind of don't always work together. The actors, the chemistry, there's something there. I don't think it's anybody's fault. I don't think anybody's necessarily doing a bad job. But Lauren German and Tom Ellis, the two of them, I can never feel any chemistry. And it's not like bad acting, or it's not them not trying, or it's not that I don't like her. I just don't like her as Chloe. There's always been something missing for me. And now when we are making this aspect of the show bigger and bigger, I'm really hoping that something changes and the two of them start working together a little bit better, because I'm slightly concerned that I'm not going to be that interested. I've always been invested in Lucifer and kind of his struggles and his personal growth. That for me has always been the heart of the show, and I think Tom Ellis makes a phenomenal Lucifer, and I think that was an accident. I don't think that the character was intended to be exactly like this. I think that this is something that the actor kind of, without even thinking about it, brought to the part, and then it really worked. He's talked about the fact that he decided to make his accent British because it didn't work with the American, and then they incorporated the singing because he can sing, and it just created this really charming, really engaging character. Whereas with Chloe, the problem is that I've always felt like she's engineered. Like in the story, funnily enough, because they say that, you know, she was specifically created to be kind of a love interest for Lucifer. They even say in the season, Michael, we're going to talk about Michael, but he says that she's a gift from God. Basically, the only reason she exists is to be Lucifer's girlfriend. And the problem is that's kind of how it feels with the show itself. And again, it's not that the actress isn't trying, and it's not necessarily that they're not trying with the writing, but something isn't working. Unlike a show like Supernatural, which I think was intended to be like even less, you know, less serious, and even maybe the same amount of serious, but like they really weren't intending to have 15 seasons, and now they're finishing the show on season 15 and finishing it in like a very dignified way, you know, without being cancelled, and just deciding that this is going to be the end, and still kind of having a very strong fandom. I think that happened because of actor chemistry. There was just kind of a lightning in a bottle moment with Supernatural that doesn't seem to be happening with Lucifer, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm not that invested in the love story, but let's see. We'll see what happens. But just that's my biggest concern for season 5. Anyway, if you're here, you probably already know what's going on, but let's just do a quick recap. So at the end of season 4, Lucifer decided to go back to hell because the demons were rebelling and they wanted to kidnap Linda and Amenadiel's baby to raise him as the new lord of hell and that sort of thing. So Lucifer decided to sacrifice himself and leave Earth and go back to hell and rule the demons so that they would kind of stay in line. Why the demons weren't happier just kind of doing their thing without anybody giving them orders, not quite sure, but it is what it is. So now it's season 5, and in the first episode, as I said, it's not that good. Basically what happens is Chloe and Mazikeen are kind of working together as partners and solving cases. Lucifer is in hell. Linda and Amenadiel are raising their baby. Amenadiel is running Lux. And Ella is just there. She's got a little like side plot story sort of thing about like trying to find a boyfriend who's not a bad boy. She's looking for a good guy now. So I'm wondering if in the future she's going to end up for a period of time with Michael and him kind of trying to trick her that he's this really good guy. We'll see. This is like a wild theory, but she's just there. Dan is now really into self-help books because why not? And nobody seems to be really happy. Everyone is various levels of miserable or obsessed with the safety of their baby or the abilities of their baby in the case of Linda and Amenadiel. So a guy dies, a guy gets murdered and goes to hell, and he meets Lucifer there. And through that person who's trying to find out who killed them, Lucifer basically decides, oh, I'm gonna try to help you solve this case because this will be fun because I haven't done it in thousands of years. Because as they mentioned like a bajillion times, way too many times, even though on Earth it's only been a few months, in hell it's been like thousands of years. This is the first problem I have. That's an interesting concept. But this is a very difficult thing to portray on screen, and I don't think they're doing a good job of it, because if you do that sort of thing, if you say, oh, it's been 1,000 or thousands of years for him, then you have to somehow show it, like how has he changed, or you know, it's a very difficult thing to show. And they don't. They kind of just say it, and I think it's just there to make us sympathize with him even more, but it doesn't quite work because he's behaving the same way. He's just kind of sad. And my first thought was, dude, if it's been thousands of years, you've survived thousands of years without Chloe. I understand that this is supposed to be this like grand, amazing destiny sort of love story, but I've never been into that sort of thing. And by now, like, you should have moved on. Either you've moved on, or if you've spent all of this time obsessed with her, then you'd be insane by now. This is the problem with how we portray supernatural beings or celestial beings or whatever you want to call them. You either have to make them really different to humans, in which case they become unrelatable, or if you make them exactly the same as humans, which has been the case with Lucifer so far. Basically all the angels and demons, they're humans. They're basically human. They're immortal, but they feel and they behave exactly like humans. If you do that, then with something like this, like a human who has been pining over this other person for thousands of years, that's just kind of difficult to buy. So I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's how it is. So he's trying to solve the case, and they're kind of going through this guy's memories. And of course, as the show always does, the story of the person who got murdered is kind of parallel with what's happening in Lucifer's head right now and how he feels. And he starts seeing himself in this guy who, left his loved ones, or, stopped contacting them and disappeared from their lives because he thought that he would always disappoint them, and he sort of wanted to protect them. And Lucifer kind of feels like that's what's happening with him. He doesn't want to go back to Earth because he feels like he's afraid that he's going to do something wrong and ruin his relationship with Chloe or with everybody else. So that's why he's stuck in hell. Again, I'm not quite sure I'm behind that, because him going to hell was supposed to be this big sacrifice, and it was supposed to be unavoidable because he was trying to protect people. And now we're kind of saying, oh, he could actually leave and nothing bad would happen. He's just too scared to leave. Which is, I feel like that's retconning that a little bit. In general, I quite like this sort of theme that has been running through the show in all of the seasons so far, which is that nobody's really making anybody do anything. Lucifer constantly struggles with like God doing something to him, or making him do something, or telling him who he is, and he feels like he has to rebel. And I think the lesson that the show has been trying to teach so far is that actually you can do whatever you want. It all depends on you. You create your own hell, as we are shown here and we have been shown before. It's completely up to you whether you're going to be tortured and how you're going to be tortured. It is completely up to you what you do with your life, or whether you're the villain. It is all up to you. It is all in your head. It is whatever you do. So in general, I really love that. It's one of my favorite things in the show, and I think it's a good way to deal with the concept of God, because obviously we haven't met God and we don't actually know his intentions, but I think it's always been implied that God isn't really doing anything, or if he's trying to teach Lucifer a lesson, the lesson is just basically, hey, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Literally, it's just you're the one who decides. And all of this stuff with Chloe, like, that all depends on you guys. So I like that. But in here, because him going to hell was such a big thing, and because it was supposed to be a character growth moment, now trying to make it seem like it's actually a mistake and he's just being cowardly for not returning, I don't know, that's kind of unfair to the character. But anyway, so while he's trying to solve that case and coming to some personal realizations, Chloe and Maze are also trying to solve the case on the outside. And Maze is also pining after Eve. As I already said, everybody's miserable. There's this weird moment where Maze is hitting on Chloe, which kind of comes out of nowhere. And I guess it's Maze, like she will try any crazy shit, but it's just that there's not been anything romantic between them ever. So anyway, that happens. And in the meantime, Linda is convinced that Charlie, her baby, is, because he's half angel, is this like genius baby who can like learn chemistry at age a few months old and could possibly walk on the water and all of that. It's played for laughs, but I don't know, it seems a little too unreasonable. Like, Linda is overall a sensible person, like she has her quirks, but just it seems a little bit over the top. But anyway, that happens. It's kind of funny because she brings Ella and she's like, can you teach him like biology or chemistry or science or whatever? And Ella is like, dude, that baby's a few months old. But yeah, that's happening. He's taking swimming lessons and Chinese lessons and I don't know what else lessons. And Amenadiel's whole thing is that he's really trying to catch bad guys or like stop criminals and basically to just do good to make sure he's making the world a safer place for his son, which seems like a really flimsy reason to be randomly trying to catch drug dealers in Lux, or to just be, you know, looking for stuff like that to do. I don't know, it seems a little bit silly. I would have liked it better if his reason to do that was because he was just feeling useless, because he used to be an angel and he used to have this great responsibility, and now he kind of doesn't know what to do with his life because he's just running a nightclub. I think that would have been a better reason than just, I want to make the world really safe for my baby, so I'm gonna catch like one drug dealer or like try to work with the police. I didn't know what I thought of that either. Just in this first episode, none of the storylines seem convincing enough to me, and the way that they show everyone's missing each other, like Chloe's missing Lucifer and vice versa, and Mezakin's pining over Eve and all of that, it's bad. It's like really cheesy, and the dialogue is very bad and very on the nose. It feels like suddenly this is a show for 5-year-olds and they like spell everything out exactly. Oh, so this is the parallel that you're supposed to be making between this murder victim and Lucifer, and between, you know, Chloe talking to this person, but she's actually thinking of Lucifer. It's completely lacking in any subtlety whatsoever. I think it's too much. Like, the show has never been subtle. They always make it very clear what you're supposed to like think and get from a certain scene. But I just thought this episode, it was too much. I did like the twist at the end of the episode, which I guess was not much of a twist because it was sort of hinted at in the trailer, when it seems like Lucifer has returned because Chloe's in danger, she's being shot at, and then Lucifer finds out in hell because one of the shooters dies and I guess tells him that Chloe's there, and it seems like he has shown up to save her and he's decided to return. But we immediately find out that no, he hasn't. He's still staying away to protect her, to protect everyone. And actually the person who's returned is not Lucifer. Now, I really wish we hadn't known beforehand from the trailer and from like all sorts of leaked little tidbits that this was going to happen and that this is Michael and Michael is Lucifer's twin brother, because I thought the twist at the end was good, and I wish it had been more of a surprise, but yeah, it still worked. It was a nice ending to the episode. I just didn't really like the rest of the episode that much. So now in episode 2, Michael is there pretending to be Lucifer, and episode 2 I actually really enjoyed. So good news. Not all of the episodes are bad, obviously. Because in episode 2, Tom Ellis playing Michael, playing Lucifer, is actually really fun. He's doing a really good job of that. It's exactly the right amount of, he sounds and he behaves exactly like Lucifer, but there's this weird little thing that you're not quite sure. I liked it. I really liked it, and this episode also made me laugh out loud, which is always a good thing. Like, that's my kind of, that's how I judge if something is well done. If I actually giggle, then you've done a good job, because this is supposed to be one of the genres of the show is comedy, and if you lose that, then it would really not be a good thing. So I was really laughing. My favorite scene was, so obviously they have another case. It doesn't matter what the case is. It's like this space dome Mars simulation thing where somebody gets murdered, but the case is not important in this. Michael is pretending to be Lucifer. He tells Chloe that he's back, he's always been in love with her, or he's still in love with her. He explains that it's been thousands of years for him, so this is why he's a little bit different, because so much time has passed for him. And it's honestly not a bad excuse at all, because she immediately notices that something is off, it's not quite right, but he does a good job of explaining it, and he's like, well, you need to give me a little bit more time. It's been so long for me, and you know, I love you, my feelings haven't changed. Extremely corny dialogue, but I'm willing to forgive the corny dialogue because it's supposed to be fake. It's supposed to be Michael just pretending, so it works here. It doesn't work when it's actual Lucifer saying terrible, terrible lines in the previous episode in Hell. That's not good. But this works. And the best scene is them interrogating people, because Chloe's obviously happy to have him back and she's expecting him to do the things that he usually does, to, you know, be a little bit naughty and not completely professional and make the interrogation fun. But Michael is like the most straightforward, boring, you know, dude ever, who's just interrogating witnesses in the most, like, logical but also not interesting sort of way, which leads to her starting to behave like Lucifer, because she clearly just wants that to happen and is trying to prompt him. That scene is hilarious. I loved it. Lauren German does a great job, but also Tom Ellis, I think, completely steals the show, because him just being deadpan and going, what do you mean I should hit on this witness? No, of course I didn't do that. That's terrible. It's just really funny. I loved it. There were a few other moments, I don't remember exactly where, throughout the episode where I also laughed. So I thought that was great. And through that episode, there's kind of little hints that Chloe gets and everybody else sees, that this Lucifer is not the same, because he lies to Ella when he has to explain where he's been and what's happened. And Chloe immediately notices and she's like, I thought you didn't lie. And he's like, well, I do now, but I wouldn't lie to you. So there's quite a few. It becomes quite obvious that this isn't the same person, But at the same time, you're not thinking, well, she's an idiot, she should have figured it out like the first second, because it's also convincing. Like the explanation of it's been 1,000 years or thousands of years and I'm not the same person anymore and things have happened is convincing. And Michael, or not Michael, he really is Michael, but I mean Tom Ellis as Michael, as Lucifer, does very well at having these conversations with her and, you know, making her sympathetic, being, oh, you know, puppy dog eyes and I've missed you and it's been so long and I'm miserable. It would really make anyone go, okay, I need to cut you some slack. I'm not gonna question you all the time. I understand you're probably traumatized. It's very well done. So for a minute there, it felt like Michael would make an amazing villain. I really wish they had run with that for longer. I wish they hadn't revealed that this was Michael, even in the second episode. I wish we had been left in the dark for longer, because I'm curious what I would have thought if I didn't know the truth. Because I probably would have believed that it's just a lot of time has gone by and something's happened and he's different now, and I would have been trying to guess what exactly the problem was or what was going on. I would have been along for the ride along with all the other characters, and I think that would have been a lot more fun. They could have just kept that going for a little longer, but unfortunately no, we're just told right away that this isn't Lucifer. So that kind of spoils it a little bit for me, but it's still a really, really fun episode. And so in the middle of the episode, basically Michael's plan is to kind of tempt Lucifer into coming back to Earth, because he's jealous of the fact that everyone in heaven is now praising Lucifer for the sacrifice that he made. So now everybody's talking about Lucifer and saying that he's grown. So Michael's plan is to come to Earth, pretend to be Lucifer, break Chloe's heart, and this would piss Lucifer off, and he would come back to Earth and he would show his true colors. And I think this is a really dumb reason and a really stupid plan. I have an issue with somebody else being so jealous of Lucifer, because the charm of Lucifer is that he's kind of the underdog and kind of the one that's misunderstood, and the one that everybody always thinks is wrong, but also at the same time you sympathize with what he's done and how he's rebelled against God, because it makes perfect sense, honestly. God seems to be an asshole. So him being kind of a favorite, I don't know if that works, and it works even less if he has a twin brother that everybody says, oh, but I don't know if everybody says that, but at least Amenadiel is like, oh, but you know, you've never been as good as Lucifer. And even when, you know, he got sent to hell, everybody knew that you were not as good as him. This just seems, I don't know. Lucifer is supposed to be the black sheep of the family. If you introduce another black sheep, then he kind of loses part of his appeal. And also I thought it was really stupid that it had to be a twin brother. Like, why do they have to be twins? It's not like, these are not their true forms, surely. Like, Lucifer doesn't actually look the way Tom Ellis looks when he's in heaven, or at least this is not like how he originally looks. This is a form, a shape that he chose. So it could have been just like a brother that decided to take his, like, the same type of body. Why do they have to be twins? Like, is this really what they look like? They look like 30-something, 40-something-year-old guys? Really? That's what angels look like? Like, for real, in heaven, this is how they were created? I don't know. I thought it was unnecessary for them to actually be twins. It could have been anyone. But okay, at the end of the episode, after he has done like a bunch of things to upset Chloe, he kind of leads her on a little bit. He tells her that he really cares about her, but then he kind of lures her into his penthouse, and he kind of strikes a deal with Mazikeen because she's pissed at Lucifer as well. So he's kind of like, let's ruin his life together, and she goes along with it for a little bit. So Chloe finds them kissing and is upset, and then he's like, oh no, I didn't mean anything. He's doing a very good job of playing something close to Lucifer, because he does immediately go and apologize, and it's very believable. And at this point, Chloe seems to have decided, I guess she decides before she actually realizes it's not Lucifer. She decides that it's time for them to have sex. She wants to, take their relationship to the next level, which seems a little bit fast considering he's been gone for a while and he's just come back and he's acting a bit weird, but okay, whatever. But then she goes and finds him with Mazikeen. Then at this point, I guess we learn at the end of the episode that at this point Chloe has realized it's not actual Lucifer, so she's trying to trick him. So there's a really funny scene where she seduces him while they're making coffee. That one was really well done. I love what she's doing. I love how he's acting. It was really funny. And I think the issue is, I would have kind of loved, because I don't ship Chloe and Lucifer, they've never worked for me. I think I would have actually shipped Chloe and Michael. I think there could be something interesting there. Unfortunately, that's never ever gonna happen. But I don't know, I quite liked it. Even though he was being fake, you can see that he's kind of starting to fall for her, and he's like, oh my god, this chick is actually really cool, I like her. So in my alternate universe, which I would have written, he would have fallen in love with her and they would have eventually ended up together, and I think that could have been a very interesting relationship, and it would have been a really cool middle finger to the whole Lucifer and Chloe are destined to be together thing. I think Lucifer could have just found another girl. Chloe could have been there for him to learn to accept himself and learn to love and whatever. She could have been his first love, but he could have found somebody else that he had a little bit more chemistry with. And Chloe could have hooked up with Michael, and Tom Ellis could have played two different characters, and it could have been really fun. But yeah, that's only my imagination. So yeah, she seduces him, and then in his penthouse, when they're about to have sex, or at least this is what she wants him to think, she takes out a gun and shoots him to see if he's going to bleed, because obviously Lucifer gets hurt when she's around, and he doesn't, and she's like, oh, I knew it, you're not actually Lucifer. And the stupid thing is, she says, I knew this, I knew there was something wrong the moment I kissed you, but then I knew for a fact that it wasn't really you when I saw you with Maze, because Lucifer would never do this to me. And I thought that was kind of stupid, because I could totally see Lucifer making out with Maze for some reason, not because he doesn't love Chloe, but Lucifer does all sorts of like weird and crazy things, so I don't think him coming back from hell after thousands of years and making out with Maze because, I don't know, he thought that he shouldn't be with Chloe or for whatever other reason would have been like the dead giveaway, this is not Lucifer. I think he could have plausibly done that. So I don't think that's very good reasoning for how she was absolutely sure sure it wasn't him. I thought that him lying was a much better reason for her to decide it's not him, and him having a slightly different power, because with Lucifer it's what do you desire, and then everybody has to tell the truth, and with Michael apparently is what do you fear, and they have to tell the truth. And I thought that the different power was a giveaway, the lying, everything else, but not him making out with Mazikeen. I didn't think that that was such a non-Lucifer thing to do. But anyway, she knows it's not him. She's like, dude, you know, I'm totally into Lucifer. I believe in us. She makes this grand, extremely cheesy, not the best written, but okay, I'll take it, speech. I like that she realized it wasn't him. I guess that's the second best thing that could have happened after my version of events in which they fall in love. But the second best thing was her realizing, hey, this is not my guy. I'm still in love with Lucifer. This is not him. So that was cool. And then Michael and Amenadiel have a chat. Amenadiel has also realized that this isn't Lucifer, but he's realized it in a much more sensible way, because Michael was trying to kind of scare him and make him afraid for his baby. So he connected that to Michael's powers of finding people's fears. So he was like, oh, this is how I knew it was you. So they have a chat, and Amenadiel's like, you'll never be as good as Lucifer, which is such a stupid freaking thing to say to somebody who is being clearly malicious and wants to hurt Lucifer. You really don't want to kind of give him ideas or test him or taunt him. And at the end of the second episode, it's clear that Michael is going to plan something to, you know, to destroy Lucifer or to hurt him or to take his life away or whatever, and this is our villain. So overall, even though I had issues with episode 1, not a bad start to season 5. I'm interested in what's going to happen next. There's also a hint of like a dramatic backstory with Linda, who clearly had a previous baby. I'm curious about that. I think that that's gonna be it doesn't always work when you give characters very big, dramatic kind of problems and issues and dark pasts. But I think in this case, this could be cool. I like Linda. I can see this being part of her backstory, so I want to see what they're gonna do with that. And there's hope maybe for Chloe and Lucifer, so we'll see. It's not like I don't want to be invested. I keep trying to see them together as a couple and to believe in this great love story. I just can't help but think that they might be better off with somebody else, because the chemistry is not fully there, even though the actors are trying. And I don't even think that they don't like get along in real life. I'm sure they really like each other. It's just their on-screen chemistry for me doesn't quite work. But that's okay. I'm still quite interested in Lucifer's own development and what's gonna happen with that. So looking forward to the rest of the episodes and then the second half of the season as well, because of course we've only got 8 episodes out at the moment and more are coming. So I'm gonna keep watching and keep chatting about it. This has been a very long review for just 2 episodes, but this is how I roll because I don't script these things. I just turn the camera on and start talking. So with that in mind, you guys have been here for a while, so thank you very much for watching if you've watched this entire video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!